Tuomas Salusjärvi comes from a company called Valio, which is the 35th largest company in Finland. So he's representing a big company. He will tell more about the company. He is a Ph.D. and he is Executive Vice President of Growth Business and R&D at Valio, which is a brand leader in Finland as a food company in its sector and a major player in the international dairy ingredients market, having subsidiaries in USA, China, Baltics, and Sweden, and direct exports to over 60 countries worldwide. The turnover of the company is approximately 2 billion euros, and they have about 4,500 employees. Tuomas also holds the chair of board in Uglygood Global company, a spin-off of Valio and financed by Mandatum Asset Management, concentrating on oat-based non-dairy products, and with a company that is seeking for strong international growth in Europe, North America, and Asia. Tuomas has more than 25 years of experience, having started from research positions and grown to board and executive appointments with responsibility for business development, innovation, and new product development. So we are very, very keen to hear Tuomas, the large company view and especially a large company view, global view on the food market and the challenges there. So Tuomas, please.
Okay. Thank you, Kim, for the presentation. Very nice to be here, feeling a little bit different animal with this group, but maybe I can bring you some different views and maybe it's interesting to you to hear. So we are owned by the cooperatives and as a company, we sort of pay everything what we can earn for the farmers through the raw material price. So we try to maximize our raw material price, which is odd for a company, but that is sort of how we work and how we sort of give our what we gather from the market to the farmers who are our owners. And as said, so we do business in over 60 countries all around the world. And we actually have been studying also why do people think so? What do they think of food company that how do they consider that the company is sustainable and especially a food company? And we did a study in Finland, in Sweden, in USA, and in China for consumers. And what do they think that for a food company to be sustainable, what does it mean? And it was quite interesting. We could really see that there are some things which are very similar in people's mind for a food company to be sustainable. One is food safety. It was number one or number two attribute in all of these four markets, Finland, Sweden, USA, and China. Whereas things like animal welfare were really high on the list in Finland and Sweden, but in US it was the number 10 attribute, so not very interesting for the consumers almost at all, and also in China in very low. And when you look about this environmental thing, so it was usually considered quite important with the people, but it was sort of the climate change things affected was sort of mid-interesting. So it was not the big driver among the different sustainability attributes. And it's of course something we want to understand because we are a big company doing business with consumers, so we want to fulfill the things what they need. But then when you think about food safety, so it's quite difficult to be different for other food companies. And when you want to play with the sustainability field and want to be different from the others, so it's maybe something other you can choose. We build this kind of different focus areas for sustainable businesses. We of course have this kind of compliance things which you have to have. So in a way, things like code of conduct, laws, regulations, human rights, sustainable operations, supply chain. So those are sort of a must-have within the industry. But it's again something that you cannot be different, especially when you're a big company. So this kind of basic things needs to be in place. But then when you want to be different, if you want to be a leader within your field, you know that how the ruminants and meat production and dairy production has been attacked during the last years because of environmental issues. So that is something which you have to think through. And we actually choose we went it through thoroughly, and we choose that we really want to attack the sort of biggest accusations, which is the carbon footprint of dairy production. And we were doing quite big program, which we call a carbon neutral food chain 2035. So we are really targeting to be carbon neutral company, not just the company, but the whole value chain by 2035. And it's so important for us a company that we took 2019 is as one of our strategic targets, that we put it in our strategy, and our owners, the farmers, they are totally behind the program themselves as well. And we really think that it's something we can achieve, and it's not just us who have been doing it, but it's something we have looked different certificates and second party opinions, that if we really work this way, how we sort of have analyzed and what the science is supporting. So do you also agree that this is the right way of, these are the right actions, and the way how do we measure the carbon footprints is also accurate and can be agreed by the best climate scientists that it's something which is true. And we actually have got these kind of certificates from this organization called Science-Based Targets and Carbon Trust, so that they say that, okay, our program is believable, and if we do these things which we are planning to do in this program, so our carbon footprint will be 0 2035. And we of course have more nearby targets. So we have started to follow, we set up this program in 2019, and we started to follow the outcome from that program since. So, and what's happening actually, what is very important in our field is that it's 90% of the footprint is coming from the farms, and only 10% of the emissions are coming from our own factories and logistics. So in a way, what we have to do is many things on the farm level. It's not just our company, but the farms who are producing the milk for us. And one very important thing is that it's actually Bill Gates' tweet a couple of years ago, where he says that this surprised me. There is more carbon in soil than in the atmosphere and all plant life combined. And here what that means for how we fight the climate change. And in US, there is lots of studies and already actions on fields and in grasslands, that actually the grasslands can gather the carbon from atmosphere when you grow grass. So it goes to the soil and it's stored there. So it's not just to cut the emissions, but to remove carbon from the atmosphere. And in California, they already have this kind of job, which is called carbon farmers. So people get paid so that they grow things in a way that a lot of carbon is being sequestered from the earth to the soil. And it's also something we do together in Finland. So we have lots of grasslands, and we have the Finnish Meteorological Institute's researchers, and together with them we actually study how should we grow the grasses for the cows in a way that it's also at the same time removing carbon from the air. And it's actually quite promising results we are getting from already several years of studies, and it's something we are also taking into account, that reducing the emissions and removing the carbon from the air. That's what is actually interesting is that many of these actions we are talking at the moment, so they are of course costly, and as a company it's very difficult to get I would say finance these actions from the market. So people are not really ready to pay more of the products which would be, let's say, carbon neutral or reduced carbon emissions. But actually on the farm level, many of these actions are improving the profitability of the farms. So they get better yields from their fields. They need to use less fertilizers, and many things like this actually are causing them savings on the cost sides and improve profitability what they do. And at the same time, they're actually also reducing the emissions to the environment. So it's in a way win-win situation. And we actually had set up a joint venture with one of the biggest energy companies in Finland, ST1, and together with them we are aiming to gather all the manure from what the cows are producing and starting to produce biogas out from this manure. And we have together with the ST1 a program to get these biogas production sites in place by 2035. Needs a lot of investments and actions there, but it's also bringing a new income stream for the farmers, so that the manure, which was sort of a problem for them earlier, will become a valuable raw material for the biogas production. And especially at this time in Europe, where the natural gas discussion is high due to the conflict in Ukraine, and we all know that the natural gas price is sky high. So this kind of biogas production systems in the farms, they are really bringing lots of profitability, and at the same time they are also really reducing quite a lot of the environmental problems from the farm level. We have been following how we are progressing since 2019, and I said that we set the targets to the factories, the logistics, and the farms. How much do we want to reduce the emissions? And at the moment, the situation is that we have achieved 40% of the targets already in the factories. So we will be much quicker getting there where we want than what we have been expecting. On the logistics, we have been reaching 15% of the targets. And in the farm levels, we have already in 2 years' time been reaching 17% of the targets what we have set. So we are already not just talking, but really on our way to our target, which is the carbon neutral milk chain. And in the end, it's something what we say, that we are sort of combining planet, people, and profits. So we want to, of course, do this to be the good guy among the companies. We want to be the leader in the dairy globally. So we are working on all markets, and we believe that there will be space for sustainable dairy products globally in the coming decades. And that is the position where we want to be, that we have the brand image in the people's head and in the company's head, that we are the good dairy company, and not just producing milk, but also taking care of the planet and people. I guess that's about it. It's a pity I couldn't show you the slide. Sorry about that, but it's action which is ongoing in our company, and we are working all the time on that, and it's very important big thing with us.
Thank you, Tuomas. A short question from my side to you. You are, of course, a large company, and you have possibilities to make big investments, but usually investments also require some financing. Can you see that when you are doing investments in the environmental side, can you see that the financials are interested in financing that, or?
It's of course totally depending on the investments. If it's just a cost, not producing anything else, then it's of course a difficult issue, and it's not easy to get the financing from that point of view. But when many of these cases, it could be that we are, let's say, making heat pump investment in the factories. So it also includes the profitability element, actually, that at the same time we are reducing the emissions, we're actually cutting the heat cost, which is getting the payback for the investment. So then it's a different case. And one example is that we actually, at the moment, there is a animal feed component just developed and got actually the approval from EU level, which is reducing the methane emissions in ruminants by 30%. It's called Tree-Nop, manufactured by DSM, a Dutch company. And we have calculated that it would cost something like 25 million euros annually to feed all cows in Finland with this kind of components, which would just immediately reduce the emissions of methane by 30%. And then to get financing of this kind of cost, it's not sort of an investment, but it's a cost related to the production. It's quite difficult. And we have been really talking to the Finnish government and all kind of directions that who could help us to finance this cost, because we would like to take it in use, but it's too costly for our producers' point of view at this point. But I mean, solutions are there, but then the money is many times hindering us to get there immediately.